My mother was a possibility to have a future technically eligible great-grandchild of Kaiser Adolf when she was born in January 1940. Kaiser Adolf was abducted in December 1943. When he was abducted, she was nearly 4 years old and had already been exported from Russia to Gippsland by her mother, Donna, during her divorce from my grandfather, nicknamed Stalin, in 1942. Because Judith was Ioseb's legitimate daughter, he had her placed under surveillance by Soviet Russian intelligence after she arrived and was adopted by a Gippsland family. My mother's potentially technically eligible child of the future wasn't a factor in the Neo-Nazis' thinking. They only had Sadie's already dead inbred fetus in mind, whilst others amongst pretended Janet Podolsky was Kaiser Adolf's fiancée cum childhood sweetheart. Two groups within one terrorism group separately pretended both were technically the status of about to become the equivalent of Queen of Germany. Janet had a potentially eligible future great-grandchild possibility nobody discussed or was fully aware of, and Sadie's preferred option inbred extortion plot Brad was already dead. Like the lunatics they expected Sadie and inbred Brad to arrive in Berlin almost immediately after the baby was born, in around early November 1944. By Christmas, at the latest. Janet's granddaughter, the potential mother of a technically eligible child of the future, was living in Gippsland, Australia, at the request of her mother, Donna, to annoy her father, Ioseb, as part of their messy divorce in 1942. My grandfather Ioseb Jagashvili, nicknamed Stalin, was able-bodied when my mother Judith was conceived in 1939. He was officially a quadriplegic when she was born in Russia on the 6th of January 1940. Judith was born 12 days before her biological grandfather, Adolf Hitler the Hohenzollern, was ceremonially officially crowned Kaiser of Germany at the request of his predecessor Wilhelm II. Wilhelm II attended the private coronation ceremony on the 18th of January 1940. Ioseb had been knocked unconscious, then attacked with his spinal cord cut with surgical scissors at the neck, whilst his third wife Donna was pregnant with my mother. He was officially declared a quadriplegic for life in August 1939. World War II was officially declared on for the first time on September 1, 1939. The people who declared the war may have been waiting to be informed that he had been attacked and disabled before they declared World War II on, officially. When Sadie and her ineligible inbred baby didn't arrive in Berlin during November 1944, others based in Berlin was still trying to fake Janet being Adolf's fiancée cum secret childhood sweetheart back to 1906, under her false name Eva Braun. Janet was regularly seen in costume for images pretending to be Eva Braun, going in and out of bunkers and buildings in Berlin. Janet had to show her real identity as Janet Podolsky to people to get in and out. Those bunkers and buildings regularly had a part Hungarian, New Zealand-born female in her late 20s in them, who was playing the Lunatics version of genocide dress-ups. She was made over to look like Kaiser Adolf Hitler the Hohenzollern by a professional film production crew, including costume, hair, and makeup. That female had participated in mass genocide by impersonating Kaiser Adolf's voice over emergency radio to lure millions to their deaths at the hands of the Neo-Nazis starting December 1943. As a result of her key part in their mass genocide in Germany, they had the award-winning film production crew make her over as if for a film role playing Adolf, and she dressed up to look like Adolf every day, including royal monogram armbands. She was half his age, female, had blue eyes, wore women's shoes, underwear, bra, was 8 centimeters shorter than him, etc. Her voice impersonation of him, over extremely bad quality emergency radio, had lured millions of Germans to their deaths starting December 1943. Kaiser Adolf Hitler was almost completely unconscious from his abduction in December 1943 to well into late January 1944. He was unconscious in an induced semicoma whilst the Neo-Nazis mass genocide was at its peak and killed millions in Germany from December 1943 into January 1944. The New Zealand-born female's name was really Isabel Williams. She was using the false male name Fritz with her associates at the time. Williams was there because she had been molested by a hideously evil pedophile called Albert E. Einstein in the USA in 1934. He introduced her to drugs and alcohol and got her pregnant when she was 14, whilst she was on holidays in the USA with her parents. She gave birth to a child in the USA 9 months later in 1934 when she was 15. That child became serial killer Charles Manson. Manson's 2 parents were why she regularly stuck her tongue out like her father Albert E. Einstein and drew a Royal Hohenzollern monogram on her forehead. The scrawl on her forehead was a reference to the fatal forehead wounds of her mother Williams and Eva Braun, Janet Podolsky, when they were found dead together in a bunker in Berlin in mid-1945. Williams found dead in her Adolf Hitler costume and makeup, of course. When Sadie didn't arrive by the end of 1944, and others were still faking Janet to look like Eva Braun, the fake fiancée of Adolf, the Neo-Nazis and other lunatics paused. They decided to pretend that the staff at the prisoner of war jail in Yugoslavia must have been trying to make Adolf appear to agree to it all. They decided to pretend the baby got born and was being raised on the other side of the bars in front of him. They decided to pretend he was asked if he was ready to be dragged back to Berlin every morning, and if he said no on principle, whilst watching Sadie and the infant through the bars of his cell, they left him there chained up another 24 hours, and asked again the following day. That he would eventually say yes in exchange for a bath, a change of clothes, the use of a toilet, and something else to eat. He had been stuck there nearly 12 months, still in his dinner uniform. They pretended that weeks after the baby was born, he would crack, agree, and say yes. Then they would arrive. Just a matter of time. That added fiction confusion was then coupled with the clashing females. Different groups of neo-Nazis were pretending that one of two different women was nominally the fictitious pretend queen of Germany to be Sadie and Janet, using the name Eva Braun. They started mingling with each other when the Sadie group traveled to Berlin to see Kaiser Adolf dragged through the streets like a chained prisoner, with Sadie and her baby, in late 1944. That Sadie group started arriving in Berlin thinking they would see that happen, arriving in an area where people were pretending Janet was Kaiser Adolf's fiancée, Eva Braun, with Janet working there, posing for the faked photographs and film. By then, the entire neo-Nazi terrorism group had been almost completely taken over by escaped maximum security prison inmates that the original neo-Nazis had busted out of jail themselves and asked to join them, starting December 1943. Metaphorically speaking, there were over 10,000 Dahmer, Bundy, Milat, Milosevic, Sutcliffe types running and perpetrating the neo-Nazis' heinous terrorism by then that had participated in the mass genocide of tens of millions of people, including German citizens and residents of the major cities, in a mass genocide comparable to the Holocaust, approximately. The millions of victims' bodies were processed through fertilizer plants, with the remaining bones put through grinding mills and added to powdered concrete stockpiles, as if a substitute for sand. It left only the usual personal identification in the clothing that was stripped off the deceased victims. Personal items like wallets, blankets, toys, etc. And official emergency identity information that included the residential addresses of the victims. The bodies of the millions of victims were never found intact as a result of what was done to the victims' remains.